Sairam children, I'm going to teach you social studies, but in the name of three subjects, that is history, political science and geography. Now I'm going to start off with the first lesson of geography, right? The earth in solar system. What is it? The earth in solar system. To start with, I just want to ask you some question. Have you seen the sky after sunset? Yes, you would have seen some of the objects shining up. At the beginning, it will be like one or two, and after some time, the number will increase. So, these are called stars. If you nicely observe it, you will see some of the stars are not flickering or shining. They will be like the moon and other celestial bodies, they will not shine or flicker, right? Now next we are going to see what are what is full moon and new moon. So the full moon occurs only once in a month. It is called as full moon or purnima. Okay, and after a fortnight, like 15 days, you will not see the moon at all. That is called as amavasya or new moon, right? So this is like full moon and new moon. Now I just want you to answer me this. Have you ever wondered why we will not be able to see the night objects which we see in night, okay, during daytime? It is because the brightness of the sun hides all the celestial bodies which we see at night. Okay, now I'm talking about celestial bodies many times. So now we'll see what are celestial bodies. So as you can see, whatever appears on the sky, many stars are there, and then moon and everything. This is a picture of a celestial body. Okay, now we will see what is a celestial body. The sun, the moon, and all those objects shining in the sky are called celestial bodies. The sun, the moon, and all those objects shining in the sky are called celestial bodies, right? Some celestial bodies are very hot and big. They are made up of gases and have their own heat and light. These celestial bodies are called stars. I'll read one more time. The sun, the moon, and all those objects shining in the sky are called celestial bodies. Some celestial bodies are very hot and big. They are made up of gases and have their own heat and light. These celestial bodies are called stars. Okay. So now you can see a picture. What is this? Can you guess? I'll just explain you that. Okay. These are nothing but constellations. The various patterns formed by different groups of stars is called a constellation. So the various patterns formed by different groups of stars is called a constellation. So there is a special constellation, that is Saptarishi. That is one of the constellation which can be easily identified. When you see on the sky, you can identify this constellation easily. Okay. Now we are going to see what is a North Star. So early days, people used to see the stars and move around. So the North Star always indicates the north direction, and it is also called as a pole star. The North Star indicates the north direction and it is called the pole star. Okay. Now I'll just play a video. Okay.
Constellations. Throughout time, people have looked up at the night stars with imagination. In the past, our ancestors thought that they passed on from generation to generation. Today, we call these stars, as we develop better and better telescopes, ancestral creatures and gods were actually groups of stars. By 1925, the organization called the International Astronomical Union established 88 that would officially be recognized by all astronomers. If you look at some of the constellations, you might have a problem actually trying to figure out what our ancestors actually thought they were. I mean, to be honest, if you look at this part of the sky, you can't quite tell what you're looking at. What is it? I have no idea. The idea of constellations is a kind of connect the dots concept. Even though when you do draw the lines, the shapes don't look anything like the creatures. Constellations are drawn with an imaginary boundary or outline, and this can be used to identify them. Constellations are a group of stars in a particular pattern as seen from Earth. If you went to another planet, for example, you wouldn't actually see the same constellations. In fact, you would actually see a totally different pattern of a group of stars. The stars are actually in completely different locations from each other, and if from a three-dimensional point of view, we can see that some of the stars are nowhere near each other. But seen from Earth or a different perspective, they line up perfectly to show the constellation. It's very similar to a perspective piece of art. From one angle, it can look completely random, but from the right perspective, everything lines up and the picture is created. Since the Earth is moving around the Sun, constellations in the sky at various points. In the past, people actually used this information to tell the seasons from one. Many of these people actually used constellations to and this was to observe and understand the movements. In some cases, these maps were actually built to alert them when there was a change in the seasons. For example, when winter turned into spring. Almost every advanced culture around the world used constellations, and also navigating the oceans. Constellations were actually used to help ships from one location to another. The crew members knew how to read constellations, so the course based on the pattern of the stars and where they were in the sky. There were a lot of famous constellations. For example, Orion, Leo, Gemini, the Big Dipper, and the Little Dipper. But because we all live in various parts, we actually see constellations in different places in the sky. The names for these constellations passed. This is simply because it's a bit of a tradition, and they've already been established as these names. Even though some of them don't really look like what they're trying to describe. I mean, that doesn't look like a lion to me. But in modern astronomy, it's just a great way to navigate around the night sky. And for a beginner in astronomy, it's just a really good way to get used to how the night sky looks. Even though most of it is just simply dots and lines. So, I hope that's given you a great understanding into what constellations are, and also these mythical creatures from the past. Or as I call them, just simply dots and lines that look like lions, apparently.
So you all saw the video and you would have got a good understanding of what are constellations, right? Now we are going to see what are planets. The celestial bodies which do not have their own heat and light are called planets. The celestial bodies which do not have their own heat and light are called planets. They are lit by the lights of stars. The celestial bodies which do not have their own heat and light are called planets. They are lit by the lights of stars, right? So they don't have, the planets don't have heat and light. They, for example, if you, as you see in our earth, it is getting the light and heat from the sun. So they are called planets. They are lit by lights of stars, right? Next, the word, so have you ever wondered the word planet, where it came from? Yes, I'll just explain. The word planet comes from the Greek word plantai, which means wanderers. So, wanderers. What is the name? Plantai. The word planet comes from the Greek word plantai, which means wanderers. Okay. The earth on which we live is a planet, right? So it gets all its heat and light from the sun. As I've told you before, the earth on which we live is a planet. It gets all its heat and light from the sun. Right? Now you can see the picture here. So what do you see? You see a satellite which moves around the planet. Some planet, right? What is it? It is a satellite. It will move around the planets. Now, what is a satellite? A satellite is an object that moves around a larger object. So, a satellite is an object that moves around a larger object. Earth is a satellite because it moves around the sun. Earth is a satellite because it moves around the sun. The moon is a satellite because it moves around the earth. The moon is a satellite because it moves around earth. Earth and the moon are called natural satellites. Earth and moon are called natural satellites. Because the moon moves around the earth, it is called as a satellite. So now we have finished off with the topic. We have finished the topics. So now I want you to go through these question answers and find out the answers for it. I'll just read out the questions for you. First question is, what is a full moon? The second one is, what is a new moon? And the third one, what are celestial bodies? And the fourth one is, what are constellations? And the fifth one is, what is a planet? And the last question is, what are satellites? So now you can, after you find out the answers for these questions, you have an activity also. I've just given some letters of rearrange. You have to do rearranging work, that is unscramble the names of planets. So you're going to find out what are the names of the planets here. You have to rearrange the letters to form the names of the planet. So hope you all understood this topic. Just go through the topic once again, find out the answers for the questions. So worksheets will be given for you. I just want you to complete those worksheets. Also, you can enjoy doing this activity.
Now we are going to see a class edge presentation on how universe was formed, right? Let's see now.
Have you ever wondered how our universe was born? The Big Bang Theory explains how it all began. Scientists say that almost 14 billion years ago, the universe was a tiny dot of energy that was very, very hot and dense. Then, this tiny dot of energy expanded in all directions and became billion times its original size at a very quick speed. Scientists refer to this event as the Big Bang, the moment when the universe was born. Immediately after the Big Bang, the first particles started to form. Minutes after the Big Bang, the lightest of all matter, hydrogen and helium, were formed. Slowly, over the next 400,000 years after the Big Bang, more and more particles of matter were formed. Dust and gas in this newly formed universe came together and formed clouds called nebulae. Within these vast clouds, the dust started spinning and turning into hot and dense balls. These extremely hot balls were the first stars. This event took place some 400 million years after the Big Bang. Over a long period of time, many stars grouped together and formed galaxies. A galaxy is a cluster of millions of stars. We stay in one such galaxy. Our galaxy is called the Milky Way. It was formed about 2 billion years after the Big Bang. The Sun was born about 9 billion years after the Big Bang. The Sun and its planets are located towards the outer edge of the Milky Way. The Big Bang Theory is just one amongst the many theories that scientists have put forward to explain the origin of the universe. It comes closest to explaining all that we observe around us in the universe.
You have seen a question there, just think about it. Now you're going to see another presentation. Just go on this.
How well do you know your constellations? You see many stars on a clear, dark night. Many of these stars together form a closed group and a recognizable shape or pattern. Such a group of stars is called a constellation. There are about 88 constellations identified in the sky. Each constellation has several big and small stars. From the Earth, these stars in a group appear close to each other within a constellation, but are actually very far apart from each other. Constellations were imagined by people who lived many centuries ago. They realized that different constellations were visible at different times of the year. They named these constellations according to forms and figures that were familiar to them. Many constellations are known by these names even today.
After seeing this video, you would have got a better idea of everything, what are constellations and everything. So I want you to have a clear understanding of the concepts, so that it will be easy for your next topics. So I'll just show you some more videos in the next class also, but before that, be thorough with your concepts. Do read all the questions and answer the worksheets. So take care until we meet in the next class. Just be safe. Thank you, children. Sai Ram.